Welcome to The American Spectacle, a podcast dedicated to the art of American dance, exploring the past, present, and future of dance, and discussing ways to re-engage communities, young people, in the most American of all arts, dance.
Before we begin, what if one drink could carry the weight of a lifetime? The Dressing Drink, a memoir by Thomas King Flagg, peels back the layers of an orphan's legacy, blending beauty, heartbreak, and hard truths into one unforgettable story. The Dressing Drink, available now wherever books are sold.
Hi, hello, I'm Thomas Flagg, the host of American Spectacle. I'm a longtime supporter and arts advocate of the art of dance. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing you to Elka Samuels Smith, who's a friend who's been brave as heck by flying through the hurricane. Elka has a wonderful background. The thing that always gets me is the family, that the family is in the dance business. And I grew up with that. My father was a dancer. But I'd love to hear your story and how you feel about that.
Yes. Hello. First of all, Tom, thank you so much for connecting with me and having me out today. For as long as I can remember, dance has been a major part of my upbringing. My mom, the first time she ever saw a ballet dancer across the screen, she knew that that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to be a ballet dancer. So I grew up in a household of dancers around dance. And I grew up in a dance studio, it was JoJo Smith Dance Factory back in the day when I was really little. And my babysitters were dance teachers. Mm. So I had the belly dance teacher, right, looking after me. So of course, naturally, that was a language that I just thought was naturally my world.
I understand.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's such a powerful, intimate presence of God, I think. To me, dance, the first time I really saw dance was New York City Ballet, and it was like God smacked me with a 2x4. Mm. And I went, what is this? Because I thought I sort of knew it. I grew up mostly with tappers, mostly with Astaire and Kelly, and my father was an eccentric tapper. And so I knew it, but then I saw this world of ballet. And then as time passed, I kept saying, why dance? Why are you so this dance thing? And it became very clear to me that it was the best that we can be as human beings. It was also the manifestation of music, the physical manifestation of music. And to me, it's a kind of language that I'm afraid through COVID and the way the world is turning, we're losing this incredible spectacle that we had. I grew up and saw it in the 60s and the 70s. And even then, tap was not what it was in the 40s and the 50s. But to me, it just tells me that we're supposed to be here on this planet and we're supposed to make it better. And the joy and the intimacy that comes from stage dance, from concert dance, is so powerful. So tell me a little about how you got into it.
Yeah, well, first of all of my family gatherings on both sides of my family were always, it involved dance, it involved music. When we went to visit my cousins and in Florida, actually, mm-hmm. and our big family gatherings, we would always put on productions. Wow. So I was the producer, the choreographer, and I had my brother and my cousins starring in these shows. I remember putting on like Dirty Dancing once. It was really funny. We did the whole thing, of course, because you can't just half step in my family. You have to go all the way. Right. Then on the other side, when I would go and visit my dad's family, it was a different vibe, but we also were very much into singing, dancing. Drums were a big part of it. So there were always conga drums at our events with the family. And then salsa music, dancing salsa. I mean, one of my most fondest memories with my dad was actually dancing salsa with him. And, just that was the way we communicated the best, I think. That was the deepest connection. And then it was everybody. It was just something that naturally happened around us. I never thought I thought it was naturally part of everybody's world, honestly, growing up. So for me, when we went to the dance studio, it was just still part of the natural fabric of my life.
Right.
Growing up.
I think it's interesting because I've always viewed dance, I've been producing dance for a long time. It's always the most misunderstood. It's always the weak sister of the performing arts. And when you ask someone, oh, do you dance? And they go, oh, no, I don't dance. I don't want. What happened? Because as America, when I talk about the American spectacle, here's another part that gets me. So there was cyclical social dance throughout our lives. So way before our lives, you go to the turn of the century, then you go to the 20s, you go to flappers, you go to Charleston, then you come into swing, then you come into the twist, then you come into disco. But it about stopped at disco. That every 10 years, every 8 years, there would be a new social dance where everybody danced, not just everyone, and they all knew dance. The ballet boom came in the middle of the disco boom, where everyone could sort of relate to. And it was a dance culture. I just came back from Ireland. Those kids either play sports or they dance. They do Irish dance, they sing, they do that. We seem to have lost that here, especially in the schools.
I feel like there are more programs, though, gaining steam. The arts and education field, I mean, obviously funding plays a big role in how well something does. And I feel like, unfortunately, dance is probably one of the most underrated, underfunded of all of the arts.
Yeah.
Even though it's the fabric of most of them.
Right.
If you think about the music industry, how interesting would concerts be without the dancers?
Of course.
And their contribution to the show, and the choreographer, and their contribution to what happens, and the direction of where everything goes. So I understand what you mean. I just feel like we're not there yet, but people in behind the scenes are the ones who have to advocate for the spotlight.
Yeah.
And there are people who are taking it. There are people who are moving it ahead and moving it forward. And there will always be. I just wanted to get back to, you had asked me how I got into Divine Rhythm Productions. I never thought I was going to be a manager. That wasn't something that I went to school for.
Right.
I actually studied English sociology and theater arts with a minor in women's studies, and I went to college, mind you, after being raised in this dance world where everybody was dancing, like professional dancing. And I don't know. I was like, let me try to do something else. So I went to college. Of course, what do I end up doing in college? Dancing. I end up dancing. I end up in dance groups and everything on the side. But I did, in the midst of that, my brother, who had been literally pulled into the tap world and into the tap industry at a very early age, he was extraordinary. His talent was extraordinary, and he got to a point. My brother, Jason Samuels Smith,
right?
Yes,
one of the great tappers.
Yeah, he was so hungry, and he worked so hard, learning and paying attention to footage. I can tell you, he spent hours studying footage, talking with community elders that we had. I mean, we had access to people that we'll never forget, Jimmy Slide and Harold Cromer, and people Harold. Here in the city, Diane Walker.
Stumpy.
Yeah, I mean, yes, major people who would lovingly just pour in into us information, dance steps, but Jason really soaked it up. He had like this other level of dedication and hunger to really do the thing. So he had gotten to a point, and this was around the time when Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk was really big. And
Sure.
there were a lot of tap dancers in that show, and tap dance, the emphasis.
He was one of the stars.
Yeah. He rose through the ranks. He started off as an understudy in that show and learned the show and learned everybody's parts, right? That's what you have to do as an understudy.
Tracks.
And also ended up, in the lead role as well. And so people recognized Jason's talent because he was so hungry, but he was also incredibly musical. Because we do have, musician background from our musicians. And this dates way back in our family lineage. I mean, I can think of great grandparents. There's a really old picture right now on my Facebook page. It's my great aunt Tempe, please let me not misspeak. Everybody in the family. My grandfather was a wizard drummer at 5. Joseph Benjamin Smith. Joe and Helena, his sister, my great aunt, they were a tap dance duo. They ended up performing in the Apollo. So, I mean, it was it goes way back. And honestly, thank goodness, Jason is also very much a historian, and he's doing a lot of work. I'm an anthropologist as well. He's doing that work. He's learning about that history and gathering the information. But taking it back to the fact that he had gotten to this point in his career where he was in demand, and all of a sudden he is this young, talented dancer, and he didn't have a manager or an agent, and he needed help with the business. He literally just asked me. He's like, "Would you help me with my business?" And it made me obviously, no, of course how could I say no? He's my younger brother. I mean, like, what would you not do for your family? For me, I think family is everything. And so it was a no-brainer for me.
That's wonderful.
And from there, honestly, I had to learn. I did some research. I saw what the talent agencies were doing at the time and how they were managing the other tap dancers. I did get some inside look, and I didn't like what I learned. Actually, the things that I learned made me realize that there was a lot of shadiness in the business.
Really?
Yeah.
And
a lot of
honest agents. Right.
Yeah. A lot of shadiness. And I felt like somebody who could be trusted, like there was a hole.
Trust.
Yeah. There was a whole, somebody who could be trusted, but also who actually genuinely cared about dance. Yeah. And I mean, that's where I came from, the fabric of that. So I grew into a manager. I trained being a manager while like doing the work of it. And I had amazing people surrounding me, like Robin Dunn, who's ironically, she's one of my collaborators and clients. She actually is one of the reason that hip hop ended up in dance studios in New York City. She's the one who brought these hip hop legends into the studio and help them learn how to count, like a dance, in like the premise of a dance class, and teach the things that people were usually learning on the streets. Like that's where the art, the art of hip hop is from this. So, essentially, I learned from these people, and Robin Dunn was actually a manager as well. She actually managed hip hop legend Mr. Wiggles first.
Sure. Yeah.
I learned a lot from her. A lot of things about the industry, a lot of things about management from her and from other senior artists who had been around to see a lot, to live a lot. She was also in the music business too. So she had like a lot of really knowledge, and then just being around people like that really helped me learn very quickly and understand, how things work and be able to navigate contracts, for example. But I mean, it was definitely a passion.
Yeah. Well, so if I were to take a magic wand and say, we want to bring, of course, my whole thing is diversity. Like I want to bring in shag and step and all these different kind of competitions. But if I had to start with one thing in my heart of heart and in my practical knowledge, it would be tap. So how do we start tap here in Melbourne?
Ooh.
Where do you start?
Well, if it's about getting people interested, because I feel like it's already here, right? Every single dance studio that I know tends to have some kind of tap program. at different stages, right? And then you look at, there's a heavy tap circuit, a festival circuit, where people will travel. If there's nothing in your region, they'll travel and they'll go learn from the tap festivals that are happening.
Where's that in Florida, do you know?
Well, there are a few in other places.
Right.
But in Melbourne, I think there's room and
I
space
think
for us
there is
to begin one.
I think so too.
Aside from that, if there's space and resources, then the talent exists. The talent exists. The ideas are already there.
Right.
What do you think people were doing during the pandemic?
They were tapping in their kitchens. They were doing Swan Lake in their kitchens.
Yeah, but also inventing and creating and creating these ideas of things that could be done, even if it wasn't performed in front of live audiences, but things that could be shot for the camera, right? Because we pivoted to that for a while. So there's all of these ideas. There have been ideas there's so many ideas. It's about bringing the ideas together with the resources. So if Melbourne has that, I can tell you, tap dance is coming for sure.
Right. Well, then you know who I'd call first. But we actually have a little, the fellow that was on before you, Marcus Smith, he's just a fervent, he's not an artist. He's fervent about bringing the community together. And so we have a space. We have an American Legion Hall for Brevard's Got Talent. Well, we're starting. Well, we're beginning. And that's what we need to do. You know, how do you start? You start. That's how you do it. So we're starting off with that. But I also see a huge tourist industry here. I see a population and demographic that was very mature. And now it's all young families coming up. So, and of course, with the aerospace industry here, there are a lot of jobs, and there are a lot of people, and there are a lot of families. And, you know, the East Indian group that we have here. So how far is tap from Katak, right? You know, I just give me a little, and we can make it work. So we're just trying to put all those pieces together. But I'm so appreciative that you were able to brave the storm. And as my other guests, I thought, well, this ain't going to work out so well. And then I said, well, let's postpone this. And then I said, nope, it ain't ever going to happen again. So if it's going to happen, it's God's hand. And here we are. So it's great. What else? Anything else you want to put in here? Something passionate you feel strongly about?
I would just love to see dance receive the level of support
it deserves.
It deserves.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to the funders. I mean, the people who have the money and control the granting process really can help make a huge difference in the industry. I'd love to see that. I see more of it happening, but I see so many tap dancers and so many companies and so many amazing, talented people doing their thing. But I would love to see more of them supported at the level that we support our major musical stars and the way we treat them in the industry. I'd love to see that with some of our amazing dance artists.
Well, it's also setting it up. I mean, you go to White Nights, so you had Misha and Greg, right? Gregory Hines, the great Gregory Hines, Misha Baryshnikov. And there was a vehicle. And that vehicle, people saw this crossover. You know, it was really quite visionary and spectacular in its own way, I have to say. But there was a lot of that hybridization that also is important, that how far is step or break-in or tap or any kind of percussive dance when you put them together and you have different segments of the same jewel, you know? So I'm a great advocate for steppin', which I think is the greatest not up and coming, but probably the best American creative art form that's out there. But it's not so far from tap. It's like right in the same slot. So, you know, some kind of merging where we have crossover audiences and, you know, put that together. But as you say, you have to have people that are committed, that have a vision. And for Christ's sake, this is the kind of thing that you want to imbue people with. Positivity, what I call God's love. But there's a lot of dark entertainment out there now, which is plucking at kids the soundtrack of their life. And I don't agree with it. I agree with the goodness that, every kid sings, every kid dances. They do it naturally. They do it organically. That's who they are. Where is it that we're supposed to lose that, right?
Well, I mean, the first thing that we hear in our mother's womb is
Boom,
the heartbeat.
boom, boom.
I mean,
boom,
if that's
boom.
not
Yeah.
the root and foundation of percussive dance and music and, the
That's
rhythm of
how-
life, I don't
That's
know.
how deep it is.
Yeah.
It's in there, in our DNA.
For sure.
So we're going to work towards this and have a great success, I know, because I said so. Elka,
Yes.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. God
Thank you,
bless you.
Tom.
Elka Samuels Smith. If you enjoyed today's episode, please join us for upcoming podcasts where we'll speak to some of the most consequential voices in the dance world. For more information, you can go to my website, thomaskflagg.com. In addition, you can find me on all social media platforms. If you want to learn more about me and my unique journey, please check out my book, The Dressing Drink. It chronicles my early life and efforts to better understand my parents, both entertainers in their own right. I'm Thomas Flagg, and thank you for joining us today.